It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing another reaction discussion type of video that's suggested by one of you guys. So shout out to Dimitri for this one. And this one's from Evilvora, titled Endgame is Survivor Side and Dead by Daylight. And I really wanted to talk about this topic because of the mere fact that I've covered this in the past. I've covered in a previous video talking about the Endgame sort of endurance, haste, and all that kind of stuff. Because of the buffs that they have for unhook endurance, unhook haste, that translates all the way to the end game. It doesn't turn off, it doesn't get changed to 10 seconds again, it stays 15 the whole time. So what people do is they'll just get unhooked and then use that speed basically combined with a haste perk, because you can do that, or if you have hope you can also apply that and just use that to get them to the exit gate pretty much instantly. It gains so much free distance because of it. And I've realized from playing characters like Ghostface, from playing characters like Trapper, playing characters like Skull Merchant, or whatever character like Pig or whatever have you, is that Endgame is pretty much cooked. At least for me. Especially a character like Ghostface, where if you aren't set up already, if you don't have your 99s already going, by the time the end game comes, it's pretty much a wrap. It's pretty much impossible for you to get any pressure. And keeping in mind that if they're slugged, right, they can reveal you. If they're on the hook, they can reveal you. So I can't really make a play if I'm being spotted, right, which is pretty easy for them to do. So if the second that end game begins, it's pretty much a guaranteed loss at that point. And with a character like Ghostface, you pretty much have to be like, yup, I have to get this W right now before these gens are done. And that's why strategies get used, and that's why, you know, I play the way that I played with him. I've kind of retired him at this point, you know what I mean, if it wasn't obvious. Because it's really just not worth the headache, really. It's a massive pain trying to deal with this character. And I really don't think that it's worth the headache anymore. And it's unfortunate, right? Because, you know, this character is the closest representation to a Scream license that we could get, right? It's just a mask, right? So we can't really get, you know, what we really want out of it. But at the end of the day, it's like it's good enough. It's the best we could do. So because of that, it's like we're kind of forced into that situation where, you know, we kind of just had to stick to other characters. And that's why, you know, I have you know, as a horror movie enjoyer, have a lot of characters in this game that I do actually like the license of, like Nightmare, like you know, Halloween, and you know, the Chucky franchise and stuff like that. So that's what kind of keeps me going. But that's not always, you know, what's gonna happen, right? It's not always gonna work that way. But anyway, let's go ahead and at least listen to what Vora has to say about this topic.
This video here is for true killer mains. If you're not a true killer main, you probably won't understand what I'm saying. If you dabble into killer, but you don't really play much killer, you might have not experienced what I'm about to talk about.
That's 100% true, by the way. Like, I'm glad that Vora's like sort of prefacing it with that, because it is very true. There are a lot of people that will not experience, you know, what myself or Vora is talking about, and therefore think that we're lying, that we're not, like, you know, that we're being inaccurate, we're just complaining or whatever, or crying is a lot of the words they like to use as well. And it follows that same logic, like I've constantly told you guys, where it's like they just believe because they didn't see it, therefore it doesn't exist. And it's the most illogical thought process that you could have, but that's what they possess, that's what they do. They truly believe that. If they didn't see it personally, therefore it didn't happen. And it's like, no, it does happen. Like, we have evidence to prove these things. Like, these are things that happen. So
Survivors, just keep scrolling. This video here isn't for you. You're not going to understand what I'm talking about at all. Today I want to talk about DBD endgames and how crazy Survivor-sided it is. Even if a killer was to bring full in-game builds, it would still be Survivor-sided. Let me explain.
No, I 100% agree. I'm gonna let Vora obviously begin to explain it, but I 100% agree, right? Because because there's been times where I was like, I had Endgame Legion, which was supposed to be like, you know, the end game build, right? Because we had BFFs, right, for the additional haste, right, stacking with NOED, right? So we can have like double the movement speed, right? Threw on I think I must have had like Terminus maybe or something like that on there. You know, nowhere to hide, remember me, whatever, right? And still, the most you could probably get is a 2 out of the 4. That's what I was able to get. Sometimes I got maybe a 3, but even so, it really is not effective on a lot of these characters. NOED has the expose status effect, and what does that affect the most of, right? M1 killers, because expose doesn't work on the characters like Nurse, the characters like Blight. So they don't need NOED on those characters. I mean, the most you'll get on Blight obviously is your haste, but the actual expose effect is not actually going to be, you know, active. And then of course NOED is a totem that has aura, so they can see it, cleanse it, and then you don't have your haste and expose anymore. Remember me can be countered pretty easily as well if you end up becoming the obsession, or if you survive as the obsession, knowing how fast gens are, that is possible. Then that requires you to slap on Rancor instead, right? But then that also means you miss out on another potential endgame perk that could be probably more effective, right? And let's not even talk about the Springtrap endgame perk that was completely gutted from the release. So your options are also quite limited anyway. But let's continue.
Listen, let's start with NOED. Survivors are probably going to be in the comments. Y'all have NOED, and NOED, you get rewarded for losing. Listen, NOED is just a slowdown at this point. NOED does it. You don't really get a snowball going off of NOED. You might be able to down a body and hook them. While you're hooking the body, if you're playing against even decent teams, they're going to go find and cleanse NOED.
That's 100% true. You know, I've had different people like mention NOED and stuff like that, and you know, when it comes to mine, I go, okay, like I know where they're coming from, because it's gonna work at their experience level, at their MMR level, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I don't directly say like they're wrong by any means, but I just understand that like my opponents are gonna be a little bit different, because of just how MMR works. And no, I can 100% agree from my own experience. Like the amount of times that I have used NOED for endgame builds and things like that, 9 times out of 10, like from what I've experienced at least, you'll get a down, you can probably get a hook off of it, but that's usually as far as it goes, right? Like a lot of the time there will still be something that will prevent you from getting anything else off of that, right? What really comes to mind was actually on stream. I had a match where it was a Legion endgame build, of course, and I still had NOED active, but they were constantly picking each other up. You know, the map is also quite massive, so like I don't really have the best mobility. Even if I am in frenzy, it won't down anyone, right? Because it's an M2. So I would have to constantly just go on foot and try to go everywhere in M1 by itself and hope for the best. And even so, right? Even so, I downed everyone. They still were able to either 4%, crawl out, deliverance, you name it. Like everything was active. So I ended up just getting a 2. Or even a 1, I believe. Because I think the bot was able to like fly out the gate or something. And I kind of sat there and I'm like, wow, like, so I did all that work, made multiple comebacks, and then because of perk activations and a random 4%, by the way, which is supposedly 4%, but I think it's like 400% or even 40%, depending on the scenario. Just to really go off of that. Just to add on to what Vor is saying. But even besides the outlier of that situation, most cases with no one is active, I'm gonna get maybe a single down, but then it notifies the whole team, so then that will go, okay, let's go look for the totem. And if you have it with no way out, then they're like, well, we can't open the door anyway, so let's just look for the NOED totem. And most of the time, like I've said, the characters that can actually get value out of this expose are M1 killers, and M1 killers 9 times out of 10 don't actually have mobility. So taking into account the giant map size, most of the time, I mean, they have to get pretty lucky, right? You have to pretty much make a lot of mistakes in a row for that to really start to feel the effects. And if there are survivors like saying that that's a problem, then they're probably not experienced enough for that to them to be able to counter it correctly. That's just simply how it goes. It's a knowledge gap. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the balance of the perk is somehow better than it really is. It's really not. As Vora mentioned, if they're competent, they're easily going to find it. It has aura, like I've said. You just see it through a wall. You can go over there, cleanse it pretty quickly, and get rid of it because it's a totem. And I'm constantly against the use of totems. As you guys know, if a build ever comes up in conversation, I'm always talking about how totems are terrible. Because they are. They really are.
They're still gonna come and get and go on for the pull. That's just how survivors these days are. They're very greedy. They really want all bodies out. Listen, with the fast track being the way it is, and the gen progression perks, and hyper focus stakeout commodious toolbox with brand new parts, with the gen speeds being as broken as they are now, you're gonna see the end game, and you guys are gonna understand what I'm talking about when it comes to NOED. They're gonna 99 the gate, so blood warding will rarely work. I would say it typically will work against survivors who really don't know what they're doing or are not coordinated. But a decent coordinated Swift is going to cleanse the fuck out of your totems. And then because they know that, it's not hard to find. If they're anywhere in the radius of NOED, it's easily cleansable. Unless you hook near it, then you're gonna just do all that just to collect one body. As soon as you go try to chase a survivor, they're gonna wrap around, cleanse the totem, and get the pull. Be out smooth sailing. Listen, 15 seconds.
Aura's 100% correct. Like I had mentioned myself. It's like and another thing that probably he didn't mention, the aura. Like it actually gives the survivor's aura. So if they're near it, they can see it through a wall. It could probably have a good spot, but they can see it through the wall. And I've heard people say, oh, just put on third seal. And it's like, yeah, but remember, it's a totem. So like they can just get rid of that too. Especially if you have it during the match. If it's a totem, it's probably gonna get cleansed. If it's not getting cleansed, chances are they're probably not as experienced to really know where they spawn. Because a lot of the time when they play the game enough, they'll start to know where they spawn. And they'll look in those locations. I can say I've done that myself when I was playing Survivor at the time. I already started to predict where the locations were because I was playing both. Right? So I kind of knew. I was like, okay, it'll spawn on this corner, probably this part of the shack. Okay, it'll probably spawn over here. They spawn over there, probably. And there's only like 5 to cleanse. So if you just kind of get a general idea of where they are, you're like, you could just immediately get rid of them.
Of endurance after an unhook is too much. It's literally one of the most broken parts about playing Survivor and playing Killer. It's the worst feeling in the game. There is no safe hook. You'd have to hook in the basement. Even if the basement is near a gate, they're still getting that rescue mission if they're decent.
100% accurate. We actually saw that from the previous video that we covered talking about the endgame endurance. Right? I already discussed it. I'm already telling you straight up, like it's factual. It's true. That's just how it goes. And it's just not really well designed because if you're God, like, oh man, God forbid you hook at endgame, they are guaranteed to leave. Like there is no way that they're not gonna escape, especially if there's 4 alive. Oh hell no, they're definitely escaping because all they have to do is heal. So then they need what, 1 body block maybe? The haste from that unhook is massive. 15% endurance as well. I believe it is. No, 15 seconds, my bad. 15 seconds of endurance. And when you get hit, it gives you a speed boost. So like, even if you decide to hit them off of the hook, they will still use that extra mobility from the hit. And they can stack it with haste from like sprint burst. They can stack it with lie. They can stack it with balance landing. Any speed boost, it will stack. Goes up to 60% haste. I've done it myself. I've literally seen it. It's that fast. So like you're just going to make it over there in time. There's the only characters that really have a fighting chance, maybe Blight, but even then, it's still endurance. So you still have to hit first, then zoom up, and then try to cut them off. But only one character out of the entire roster is able to do that. It's kind of sad. Even Wesker can't do it, because I know somebody might say Wesker. Wesker can't do it either, right? Because you dash up, you have to slam, then you have to put your tentacle away or whatever. That gives them distance. So it's still like the only character that could have done anything against it is getting nerfed essentially too. So there really isn't a lot you could do in response. It's really just that bad. It's really like incredible how strong that is.
You could hook in the corner of the map, they're still getting the rescue mission. 15 seconds is a long time, especially if they have life. They're going to use 15 seconds, use 10 of that to cross. If you swing, they get distance, and then they can life and get away. With the exhaustion perk on top of 15 seconds on top of body blocks, it makes the end games overly survivor-sided. There's really not much you can do, and it really isn't fair. This should go at least down to base kit in game. It's really just makes survivors, it really just makes killers feel like they can't do anything nor collect the body.
That's what I've been saying for quite some time. I've been saying that for ages. I had that same suggestion. I said, why not make it at the end game? Because it's the end game. You know what I mean? Because supposedly, right, like, you know, survivors start the strongest at the beginning, killers start the weakest. That's what I've heard people say. And then as the match progresses, the killer's power will ramp up, right? Because less resources, less gens like to worry about. You know what I mean? So you would think at the end game, that should be where the killer is the strongest they could possibly be. But ironically enough, it's exactly the opposite. The further, the survivor is starting strong from the very beginning because they have plenty of pallets and they maintain their strength all the way to the very end. It's imbalanced. It doesn't make any sense at all. But that's how it is. I don't entirely understand why that is the case. I don't entirely understand why they're making those kinds of changes to make it seem that way. But it's not fun to play. Because when you're loading up a killer, you're trying to step into the shoes of an iconic character or a character that looks pretty cool or has a fun power or something like that. Whatever reason people want to step into the character's shoes. They come in for a power fantasy, a power role, right? And the killer's not a power role at all. The power role is the survivor side at the end of the day. And even with the tiny little buffs that they're giving the killers lately, it's like those changes are not super noticeable to actually help the characters that need it in this current day and age. When you're making the gens blindingly fast, when you're making healing speed blindingly fast, when you're making every exhaustion just super meta and easy to recharge, you're making every chase longer and longer and longer because there's a brand new pallet every 2 seconds. Every 3 steps is a brand new piece of wood. So they're never in danger, which makes no sense. But that's how the game is. And it's sad to see that. Because the game has the potential to be incredibly fun, to be incredibly interesting, to actually be about skill and skill expression. But it's not. And how could it be? But I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section, man. What do you think about the topic at hand today? Hit the like, hit the sub, man. I'll see you guys next time. And if you really want to support, become a member on YouTube or Patreon, or even subbing on Twitch. Check out the other channels as well. We got other channels, second channels. See you guys next time. All right, let's go ahead and read off these wonderful members. We got Patreon, Crow Vader. All my YouTube members, Brando, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not J-Lo, Evil Peach, Hargan Falcon, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. Really appreciate you guys supporting, man. And if you also subbed on Twitch, just know that you got love coming your way too. Appreciate you guys, man.